Jesus Loves Your History by Ashley Christie. We're in part 2, Uncomfortable Changes. Picnic in the park. It was 10 o'clock the very next morning. Sunday, the day before, Noah had held his very first forgiveness meeting, and today was meant to be a promising repeat. He invited the homeless man from yesterday to rejoin him and try a proper meeting this time. Noah wasn't sure if Hank would even show up, but deep down, he was hopeful and looking forward to seeing him again. This time, the newly forming ritual began with a slight adjustment. Noah made a couple of to-go cups of coffee with a bit of sugar and milk, assuming all homeless people like hot beverages. Then he toasted up a couple of his frozen breakfast sausage sandwiches to share, and put it all in the temperature-appropriate compartments of his picnic basket gift he received last Christmas from Mother. At the time, he was disappointed with the inconsiderate flowery gift, but it ended up finding its use after all. All packed. The 13 random beach chairs and 13 forgiveness meeting pamphlets Yang, the master printer, made him the day before, were already in the Jesus wagon. This time, Noah was going to park farther away, so people didn't stare at all the Bible verses plastered all over his vehicle. Maybe no one else will show up because they saw my car and thought I was a religious nut. Today is the day. Today, people will flock to my meeting. Feeling prepared and excited, Noah grabbed Prince William's leash and picnic basket full of breakfast goodies and headed out the door. What a great morning. Noah was running a little late, but he was feeling so empowered he wasn't worried about the clock. What's for you won't pass you by. It was another beautiful day at the park. Street parking was gone and the back parking lot was packed. Noah was headed out of the lot to check for street parking again when, as if Jesus himself intervened, the exact same parking spot opened up right in front of him. Damn it! Noah didn't want to be in the best spot again. He wanted to hide his beat-up Jesus religious billboard behind a wall or down the road a bit. He sat for a minute, idle, thinking about what he should do, not wanting to park there. He checked the time and it was 10:45 a.m. Still having to walk all the beach chairs in, he knew he'd be late if he succumbed to his embarrassment and tried to keep looking for parking. Honk! Hey, kid, move it! Some of us have places to be. A large, hairy man yelled out the rolled-down window of his multicolored El Camino. There was nowhere for Noah to go. He either pulled into the spot to deal with the dirty looks and laughter, or he just sat there causing a traffic jam. Another car was blocking the exit at this point, and Noah's boat of a stray station wagon wouldn't fit around the old lady's Cadillac, even if he drove partially on the sidewalk. I'm sorry. Jesus, thank you for this blessing. But he wasn't thankful, not at all. Noah's father used to tell him, "Son, the Lord works in mysterious ways, and whatever is for you won't pass you go. Won't go past you." Won't pass you go. Oh, that's funny. There's a game called, isn't there a game called Pass Go? I don't know. My dyslexia shining through. It won't pass you go. Oh, it's gonna make me laugh all day. Then he heard Mother. Let's start that little section again, okay? I'm sorry, Jesus. Thank you for the blessing. But he wasn't thankful, not at all. Noah's father used to tell him, "Son, the Lord works in mysterious ways, and whatever is for you won't go past you. Then he heard his mother. The Lord provides, Noah. Take what you are given and mind your manners. The engine was off, and Willie jumped out of his spot under the driver's seat and positioned his nose right where he knew the car door would open. Stay, Willie, let me get the chairs out to our spot first. I'll be right back. Noah pulled the random fold-up beach chairs out, stacked as many as he could manage on each arm, and set off for the ancient willow tree at the center of the park. But by the time he got there, a massive group of barbecuing, beer-drinking, frisbee-throwing jocks and cheerleading types had set up for the day. In his spot! Where do I go now? The meeting starts in 5 minutes, and I still have more stuff to get. It's a biplane. Reminds me of my favorite author, Richard Bach. Actually, I just got a tattoo of something that I've read in his most recent book that I'm reading, is Hypnotizing Maria. And in the 11th chapter, something he says that's very profound for me is, coincidence is destiny. So I'm not editing this video. And what happens is supposed to happen. And we're going to go with the flow. Thank you for being patient with me. Where do I go now? The meeting starts in 5 minutes and I still have more stuff to get. If I had only woken up earlier. Damn it, I need this spot. They look like they're going to be here all day. How is Hank going to find me if I move? Noah looked all around for an alternative meeting place. All the nice spots were taken. Stashing the beach chairs in a bush, he hurried back to His Highness. The windows were cracked, but it was starting to turn into a brutally hot day. Plus, Noah knew he couldn't afford the fine for leaving his dog unattended in his car, and if Willie ended up in the pound, waiting to die, he got passed up for adoption for being too old or too vocal. Noah would never forgive himself. So back he ran, his suit jacket peeled off, tie loosened, flapping in the air, and a white button-down still buttoned to the very neck. Gosh, it's a hot day. By the time Noah got within eyesight of the wagon, he could see the shape of a man putting his arm in the window. His dog looked happy enough. The closer he got, the more certain he was. Hank, how did you know that this was my... Hey, pal, you're late. And you really shouldn't have left P-Dub in the car like that. It's really hot out here. He could roast in this can of yours. P-Dub? Does Hank mean P-W? I guess it's short for P-W. Noah overthought pretty much everything. Yeah, sorry, I ran back as soon as I could. I was trying to bring some of the chairs to our spot. There's a ton of teenagers over there, and I'm not sure where to go now. Well, judging by yesterday's attendance, do you think you're gonna need all 13 chairs today? Hank chuckled and raised an eyebrow with a half grin. A long pause as Noah unlocked the wagon to let his poor, perspiring dog out. I guess not. Noah found it hard to adjust to changes in thought, usually because he spent so long thinking about stuff. Noah grabbed the picnic basket and the pamphlets for the meeting and hung his sweaty suit jacket on the back of the driver's seat. You need the noose? Noah took Hank's advice and ditched the tie around his neck and locked up the wagon. How did you know this was my car, Hank? You mean besides all the Bible verses plastered all over this thing? The yelping dog kind of gave it away. I heard the poor fella from across the park. Well, I brought us some breakfast sandwiches and coffee for the meeting today. Thought you might like. As Noah reached in the basket, Hank cut him off with a smile. That's mighty kind of you to think of me and all, but I can't take any of that. Noah's great morning just kept getting more and more disappointing. Did you already eat? I know it's hot, so maybe the coffee wasn't a good idea, but... Noah looked defeated. No, it's not that. I don't drink caffeine, and it's not good for my body. I'm a vegan, and I have been for years now. Tommy, the guy I play mahjong with, he got me into it. A little irritated, Noah snapped unintentionally. Aren't you a homeless alcoholic? Can you really afford to be picky? And isn't alcohol horrible for your body anyway? You're contradicting yourself. This makes no sense, Hank. Realizing what he said, he quickly apologized. I'm an asshole. I'm sorry. My filter is busted or something. I'm really sorry, Hank. I didn't mean... Yeah, you did mean it. It's all right. At least you're honest about being a dick. Hank laughed a hearty laugh. And you're partly right, but I guess that being a vegan and an alcoholic balances out to give me that average health of a 30-year-old. So I'm doing all right. Also, it bothers me a great deal when you are late. If I can respect you for showing up, you can respect me for being on time. I don't have a home, but I do own a watch. If I can afford one of these and know how to tell time, so can you. You dig? Noah could tell Hank hadn't had a drink in the last 20 hours. His eyes were clear. He also didn't smell of piss and whiskey this time, which meant he must have had a shower and gotten new clothes somehow since yesterday. Continuing with his usual beating himself up internally sketch, Noah scolded himself in silence. God, why am I such an insensitive jerk? And why does he care about punctuality so much? I gotta be better about time management. Even a homeless guy is more on time than I am. Stupid, stupid. Noah started hitting himself on the forehead, scolding himself for his poor performance and behavior. Hank softened his body language and changed his tone. That clearly this kid had issues too. No sense beating him up any more than he just did. Come on, Hank gestured with his head. I'll show you another spot we can set up this forgiveness meeting. It's on the other side of the pond. After putting the picnic basket back in the wagon, Noah, Hank, and the Prince of Willies headed back off in the direction of the partying teens. To gather the hidden beach chairs Noah left in the bush. Sorry for assuming you'd eat whatever I brought you just 'cause you're homeless. And I shouldn't have been late regardless of my reasons. I guess that was a bit insensitive of me. I prefer the term houseless, actually. Home is where your heart is. And don't worry about it, Noah. I'm sure there's plenty more than meets the eye with you, too. But as for being on time, I would really appreciate you working on that, bud. Hank took the leash off Prince William and threw a stick for the excitable hound dog, and continued off topic. Hey, you'll love this new spot. Great view of some half-naked chicks suntanning. Shh, I'm not here to check out women, Hank. I'm always here to check out the ladies. That's what eyes are for. Boy, Noah, you don't get out women? That needs to be edited. Oh my god. That's funny. You don't get out women, do ya? It's supposed to say you don't get out much, do ya? That's funny. You don't get out much. That's so funny. Hank yelled back, running for the prince, who was barking after a poodle who appeared to have a stunner of an owner. I guess not, Noah remarked, mostly to himself, and then jogged awkwardly to follow. Forgiveness challenge. Hank picked up the neon purple beach chair from the pile and plopped himself down after carefully choosing it. Then, without a care in the world, he stretched himself out, flinging off his flip-flops. Hank began happily absorbing the summer sun. Noah felt a bit jealous of Hank, but couldn't pinpoint why. Sit down, pal. Try to relax a bit. I promise it won't kill you. At least not right away. Take off those shoes you got going. The grass feels great on the feet. Coffee break. That almost looks like the same biplane. If you'd like to purchase this book, go into your favorite bookshop and ask them if they can order it in, and then maybe see if they can put a copy on their bookshelf for us. That would be awesome. Anyone who's watching this and wants to hook me up, that would be how you hook me up. And thank you for listening, especially this far. Yay! Alright, forgiveness challenge. Hank picked up the neon purple beach chair from the pile and plopped himself down after carefully choosing it. Then, without a care in the world, he stretched himself out, flinging off his flip-flops. Hank began happily absorbing the summer sun. Noah felt a bit jealous of Hank, but he couldn't really pinpoint why. Sit down, pal. Try relaxing a bit. I promise it won't kill you. At least not right away. Take off those shoes you got. The grass feels great on the feet. Noah picked up the sparkly brown beach chair that was next in the pile, unfolded it with a horrible awkwardness, and then proceeded to take off his shoes and socks, methodically. Smell those feet. Whew, damn. Now you thought my smells were bad. So, how you want to start this thing, pal? Is there some sort of format? Trying to ignore the first part of what Hank said, Noah skipped straight to his response. Well, I thought maybe we could read the first page or so of forgiveness meetings in the book, and then maybe go from there. Sounds good. Go ahead, I'm listening. Hank crossed his arms and placed his index finger on his mouth to emphasize theatrical thought, and then closed his eyes and laid back like he was on vacation in the Bahamas. Noah fumbled through his bag and pulled out the book. Forgiveness meetings. Noah paused and looked up at Hank for approval, receiving not even a smirk. I'm listening, keep going. Need me to tell you to wipe your ass too? Hank was having too much fun with this to let it slide. So the uptight perfectionist continued. Forgiving and forgetting are two very different ideas. Even where forgetting is unfathomable, forgiveness is possible. Forgiveness is the healing ointment we dress our wounds with, so we can continue on our paths toward more enlightened, happy, peaceful, loving lives. Noah paused and placed the book on his lap. He systematically began unbuttoning his dress shirt and rolling up his sleeves, sweat pouring from his face and underarms before he continued. Forgiving our oppressors is not the same as forgetting what our oppressors have been proving themselves capable of. Noah stopped and closed the book. That isn't technically the end of the page, but I figure it was a better place to stop than mid-sentence, so what do you think, Hank? What do I think? Hank replied. Worried, he dropped into self-reflection and didn't hear every word. I'm going to change that to worried. Noah dropped into self-reflection and didn't hear every word. Okay, how about this? What do I think? Hank replied. Noah worried that Hank had dropped himself into self-reflection and didn't hear every word. No, something's strange here. I don't like this. Oh, I see what I was trying to say here. I'm just gonna cut this whole sentence out. I know what I'm trying to say here, but it's not necessary. So what do you think, Hank? What do I think? Hank replied. Pause. I guess it sounds all nice on paper, but forgiving someone who has treated you like shit is not easy. Give an example. Noah began rolling up his best trousers as neatly as he could manage. Okay, well, for example, alright, how about this? I walk by every morning past this French place, and there's this really hot French bird smoking a cigarette that works there, might even own the place. Anyway, she's there really early. I walk by every morning, and I say, another beautiful day, and she hacks up her phlegm and then spits it at me. Why the heck would you walk past there every morning if you know she's gonna spit at you, Hank? That makes no sense. 'Cause she's hot, Hank smiled. And because there is usually food left out for me behind the Italian place. I have to walk past the French place just to get there. Hank sat up in the chair. It needs to be a semicolon, not a comma. Is there no other way to the Italian place? Why not walk the other way? Because I go around back, and when you go back behind the alley, it dead ends at the Italian spot. So there's no other way to go. At first, when she did it, I laughed at her, and I started skipping past her with a smile. But now, I just say the same thing every time. Another beautiful morning, somehow thinking maybe one day it might soften her up. No dice. She's still a cunt. Hank, the C word, is a bit strong. Would you say... Noah interrupted. Well, she is one, Hank replied. How does it all make you feel? Noah interrupted again. At first? Confused? Hurt? But then it turned into sort of embarrassment, followed by anger. And now, I just don't give a shit. She's a cunt, and that's that. I have no interest in forgiving her. She doesn't deserve it. Arms gruffly crossed like an ancient gnome. Noah stopped to reflect. Can I suggest something? You might not like it. Do I have a choice? Hank spoke with a clown-sized fake smile. Of course you do, Noah said seriously. Yeah, then sure, go ahead. Noah looked up to the bridge, Noah looked up to the bright, clear sky as he spoke. Well, forget about her for a minute, since you don't care what she thinks anyway. Would you be willing to, each time you pass by her, and she spits at you, maybe say sincerely, I forgive you, and then just keep walking? Noah surprised himself with that one. I never thought of that before. Hank toyed with the idea in his head for a minute. Let me think about that one. Now your turn. What do you think about the whole thing of forgiving your fellow assholes? Shrugging his shoulders in response, Noah had a hard time focusing on just one instance. Well, I have a number of things going on right now. A number of people that I resent or blame. But I keep pulling back to the idea that it's all my own fault. How so? I can't seem to figure out what I'm even alive for anymore. I seem to be going with what the people around me say is right, even when I know in my soul that they are fucking crazy. Fucking, huh? The strong word for someone like you, don't you think? Hank smirked. That's exactly what I mean. Why is the word fuck going to send me to hell when there is stuff happening out there in the world that is way, way worse? Now Noah's blood was up. I mean, there's a politician and a tax guy coming to our church, literally selling our congregation a talk for a few hours next Saturday for $1,000. You'll never guess for what either. A talk on how to properly fill out your tax forms for the new carbon tax. That is supposedly going to go straight to the homeless Americans. I mean houseless Americans. Sorry, Hank. No worries, I understand. So where do you fit into all this? Well, basically, they want me to not only set the damn event up, but also run the outreach booth with the Wicked Witch from God knows where, and then tear the event down and do cleanup while the rest of those assholes kiss these two douchebags' asses to try and figure out how to avoid paying the tax. They spent the whole day promoting to the rest of us. I hate the whole thing. I don't think we should even do the event, let alone pay these guys. And all I could say to any of them was, yeah, no problem, see you next Saturday. Noah took a deep breath and sighed. So I'm pissed. More so at myself. I think what they're doing is wrong. That money won't make it into your hands, Hank. It's all just an excuse to bleed the population dry. Oh yeah, I could see why you would be upset with yourself. So you are saying you want to forgive yourself, or forgive the fucking morons putting on the show, or who? I guess all of the above? Well, I got an idea for you, and I don't think you're gonna like it. You want to hear me out? Sure, Hank. Okay, how about sticking up for yourself and telling them all to shove their shitty little event up their asses? Hank, I cannot do that. Well, I can't forgive the French cunt. Noah was winded. He wanted a change and help. That was why he started this meeting in the first place. But how could he do what Hank was asking? He'd lose his job. Hank sensed the dilemma. I'm not saying to say it just like that. I'm just simply saying I am just simply saying for you to tell them you're not going to help. And make sure to tell them why. Hank's eyes were crystal clear and intensely focused on Noah's. You know, this little section here always trips me up because as I'm reading it, my mind is going to, what in my life right now am I having difficulty facing and forgiving? What do I fear facing and forgiving? And every time I read this section, I'm thinking of something different. And I have to read it sometimes a few goes just to kind of get back into the reminding message, the message to remind myself of, which is, if you can't forgive yourself and others, you can't make the space for the blessings that are on their way, or banging on your door, waiting for you to let it in. Right? Anyway. Well, I can't forgive that French cunt. Noah was winded. He wanted a change and help. That was why he started this meeting in the first place. But how could he do what Hank was asking? He would lose his job. Hank sensed the dilemma. I'm not saying to say it just like that. I'm just simply saying for you to tell them you're not going to help. And make sure to tell them why. Hank's eyes were crystal clear and intensely focused on Noah's. Noah looked up. If I tell them I won't be there and I tell them why, will you start forgiving the French woman every time you pass her by? Out loud and to her face. Deal? Alright, deal. Bang, 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 bang! Noah! Open this door right now! This chapter's called Noah and Mother. Looking over at his clock, 4:19 a.m. Mother, is getting ridiculous now, Prince. 4 in the morning on a Monday? Noah groaned and threw his pillow across the room. Then, like a good little boy, Noah got up and put on his robe. His dog crawled back under the duvet, and in moments like these, Noah wished he was a dog. He answered the door with frustration. Mother, do you know what time it is? It is 4 in the morning. I have a long day ahead of me. You cannot keep doing this. I am an adult. I know you don't think so, but I am. And you will stop pounding on my door at ridiculous night and morning hours. And you will start calling ahead before showing up. What if I had a guest? Shh, at this hour? You better not, young man. I love the character of the mother because I feel like the mother sometimes, and I also feel like Noah sometimes, and sometimes I feel like Prince William. It just depends on the situation and the person and the circumstance. It's just funny. Mother pushes through Noah's arm that blocked his doorway. Don't talk to your mother that way. You are a spoiled, rotten child. I put this roof over your head, and I will take it from you if you ever sass me again. No boundaries. Ever. Not sure if it was the time of day, the frustration from church events, or the newfound courage he got from his meeting the morning before with Hank. But it all just poured out of him. First, I pay the rent here, not you. Second, I am not a child. Third, if you show up at my door before 10 o'clock in the morning unannounced, I will find any woman at all and make sure she's in my bed the next time you call. Is that clear? Mother tried to speak, but Noah cut her off. And if you ever yell at me again, you will never be invited in, and I will never go to church with you again. Do you hear me? Father's lucky. I'd take his place in a heartbeat. Noah stopped. A moment of silence would normally be welcome, but not this time. The mother began to cry. No, Mother. Mother began to cry. Without saying anything, she pushed past him and out the door, trying to slam it in his face, but his arm supported the door open. Mother, stop crying. I didn't mean the last bit, but come on. 4 in the morning? I am not a child. I know how to work an alarm clock and a phone. I like your company, but please be reasonable. Noah reached out to hug her, but she pulled back. Noah grabbed her and squeezed her and shushed her to be calm. I love you, Mother. I am sorry I missed yesterday with you. I should have at least called you, but I didn't want you convincing me to go when I didn't want to. I didn't want you telling me what I was doing was unchristian, and I didn't want you doing exactly what you're doing right now. You make me sound like such a beast. Mother spoke through her tears and relaxed into Noah's embrace. You're not a beast, Mother, but you can be a bit overbearing. You've done a great job, and I'm doing okay, all right? Are you okay? Want me to make you your special tea? Mother nodded and slowly walked to the kitchen table. You really hurt my feelings when you didn't show up yesterday. And Yolanda, bless her heart, called me the day before and told me how worried for you she was. Unfiltered thought. Shh, Yolanda. I knew it. Super Satan. Filtered response. I heard. Noah boiled the kettle and placed a jasmine tea bag in Mother's favorite mug of a pug. I know you won't like this, but I need to start speaking my truth, so I'm going to tell you anyway. And let me finish before you start up with me, okay? I love the duality of Noah's mind and words. Like what he's thinking versus what he actually says to people. Why is he filtering his thoughts the way he does? What would happen if he didn't filter those thoughts? You know? Well, Noah, you should... Mother. Okay, I promise. Wondering where to start, Noah began at the end. I am starting up something called forgiveness meetings. I decided Saturday morning to try it out, and someone showed up. I wanted to keep the momentum, so I held the second one the very next day. That is why I missed church with you yesterday. And the outreach meeting, I don't need a lecture, okay? I made a decision, and I'm sticking with it. Bracing himself for shrilled screams. Noah, I think that's a great idea. Mother smiled peacefully as she stood to pour the hot water into the teapot. You know, ever since your father died, I've been worried about you. You aren't the same happy Noah. You have 0 friends, and it's sad. I've been showing up randomly not for my own health, but because I am so worried about you. You seem so fragile and angry and lost, and I don't know how to help you. Noah stood up and gave Mother a hug, kissed her on the head, and took the teapot from her to pour her tea respectfully. I forgive you as I hope you forgive me, and I appreciate the effort. I'm going to start making some changes in my life, though. You may not understand them or like them, but I gotta do it. Or I'm going to crack. Okay, just don't kill yourself. I know you, Noah. You're stubborn like your mother. You have a soft heart just like your father. Just promise me I can deal with the rest. I promise. They both sipped their tea in silence for about 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. So are you excited about Saturday? Well, that's one of those changes I'm making. Mother, I don't agree with taxing people to breathe air, and I certainly don't agree with paying a politician and a taxman to come to church for a political event. I'm going to be bowing out of that. Please don't be angry with me. Your opinion of me is so... I don't know, Noah. You don't really know me. Maybe that is partially my fault. Noah, I love you, and I raised a good man. If you think that what they are doing is wrong, you stand up for yourself. I trust you, and I'm sorry if you don't see that. Noah and Mother spent the rest of the morning watching the sun rise while they drank Mother's favorite tea. Silence never felt so good. Time just flew by. When things are good, there are never enough hours in the day. Moments you wished lasted lifetimes, only lasting literal moments in time. Time machine travel would best suit a morning such as this. Maybe, just maybe, it could find a way to repeat in the future. Why couldn't life just always be this nice? You know what I absolutely adore about this? This is probably one of my favorite chapters, that and the French bitch one. I just think it's fun. But, French cunt. Sorry, I need to get my my words right. But I love this chapter because of the balance and the duality of it. It starts out with extreme misunderstanding and fear and confusion. And in the end, there is only love and faith and peace. And that's because they both took a risk. They both made an uncomfortable change. They both took a risk. And they opened up to each other. And I think that's beautiful and powerful. I love this chapter. The Frenchie. That same Monday morning on the other side of town, the second promise was being pondered. Hold on. Hank woke up from his usual spot under the ancient willow tree in the park next to the pond. The exact same tree where he met Noah 2 days before. He pulled out his wipes that he bought on Sunday and began to wipe himself down. Dipping his head into the pond, he pulled out some biodegradable conditioner and brushed it through his thick hair before sticking on his green beanie cap. Looking at his half bottle of Jameson, Hank decided against it and slipped the liquid crutch into his camouflage print bag. Dressed in his new donation clothes, Hank started off toward his usual haunt, the Italian place. It was still early, so Hank thought maybe that French broad wouldn't even be around, and he could get out of having to forgive her. He was wrong. There she was, sitting on her black stool, black fishnets, black glasses, black everything with her long classic style cigarette not 3 centimeters away from her bright red lips. Here we go. Hank slowly started walking down the alley, looking straight ahead. If she doesn't spit at me, then I don't have to forgive her. Maybe she decides not to, hopefully. You can't forgive someone who doesn't do anything, right? Approaching her spit radius, Hank tried to appear unbothered. On my shoe? Really? Was that necessary? Her aim had improved. Fuck. Hank turned slowly and looked her dead square in the face. She took a drag from her cigarette and gave her nasty, raised lip half-smile. Deep breath. I forgive you for spitting on my shoe, smirking. I didn't ask for your forgiveness. I don't need your permission, Hank responded childishly, then turned and continued walking toward the Italian place. The raspy French accent called after him. Who do you think you are? Homeless Christ? Why don't you yell at me, slap me? Tell me what you really think. She got up from her stool and began to follow him. By the way, I apologize for butchering any accents. When I can afford a casting crew and voiceover actors and all that, it'll be better. Okay. Hank put his bag in its usual spot near Mario's back door and bent down to pick up his neatly covered plate. Damn, she's a sexy bitch. What a shame. You come here every morning to steal from Mario, and I wasn't here. You would steal from me too. You're the one that needs forgiving. Thief. Mario leaves this for me. He's an excellent chef. And as for your information, I wouldn't touch that nasty French shit if you paid me to. My food is delicious. Why don't you get a job and stop living off the backs of others, you lazy slop? It's slob. What? The word you're looking for is slob, not slop. Just so you know for the future. And let me ask you something. Do you get off being a cunt, or is this just normal behavior for you? Hey, I worked my ass off to get where I am today, not to have some slop like you steal from my trash cans, licking her conversational wounds. I'll have you know that once it's in the trash, it's public property. Like this alleyway, it is no longer yours, princess. So it's not technically stealing. And secondly, and most important, I don't eat slop. I'm a vegan, not a pig. Ugh, how would you know? You've never tried French cuisine. Yeah, and if I'm lucky, I'll never have to. Hank sat on his usual upside-down milk crate with a cushion, practically ignoring the woman at this point. How is it that just because you're American, you somehow feel entitled to everything? I work my ass off to get what I have and to live here. And people like you just piss all over yourself and expect the Ritz. Finally, realizing where she was coming from all those years, Hank saw jealousy. Taking a bite from his perfectly prepared plate. God, this is so good. Mario is a true talent. You just don't get food like this on a regular old paycheck. Hank closed his eyes in ecstasy, rubbing it in just enough to even the scoreboard a little. Don't you feel the least bit guilty? All my taxes are taken out to fund bums like you. Striking her high-top table in frustration. I have you know that I paid good money in my previous life to be able to afford myself this lifestyle. You assume a lot of things about me, lady. And the truth is, you don't know a damn thing. You never took the time to ask me either. You just spit at me every day for 5 fucking years. And that makes you somehow better than me? Blow your smoke in someone else's face. I've earned my peace. Not that I should have to. Everyone has a right to live how they want to live. And at least here we do. So why does what I do bother you so fucking much? Are you jealous? I am most certainly not, she pouted. You know why Mario leaves me food back here every morning for the last 5 years, do you? Have you ever even bothered to ask the man? Hank relaxed. The French bird popped off her high-top chair and started walking over to him, shaking her head. No, as she sat on the second milk crate, lighting her second cigarette of the morning. You know, I used to come to Mario's every day for 20 years. The first time I met Mario, I was actually much younger, and I had just finished university. I showed promise and had even won awards for my designs. Mario was a friend of my father's, and he asked me to design him a restaurant. So at the age of 20, fresh out of school, I designed him the nicest place at the time. Mario was ecstatic, and everyone had come to his spot. And I mean everyone who was anyone. I made that fucker popular, let me tell you. So this is why he leaves me food. You're a liar. That makes no sense. In fact, I designed this whole block. I can tell you every square foot of your own restaurant. Prove it. French flirtation slowly peeking out behind her rough exterior. Okay, ask me anything. Hank took another bite of his cold sautéed string beans. Where is my walk-in storage room? She challenged. Trick question, you don't have one. The gray box was originally a real estate office, and you have to store your shit in the basement I designed for the last owner, who loved collecting wine. How did you know that? She resounded in disbelief. I told you, and I don't care if you believe me or not. Hank felt more confident and took a bite of his salad. Then if you're some hotshot architect, what are you doing homeless, smelling of booze and piss most mornings? The woman exploded angrily. My turn to ask a question. What makes you think it's okay to spit at someone every day, year after year? Was that taught to you as a kid or something? No, it was not taught to me. My parents died when I was 4. I was raised by my grandpapa, Pierre. He was a great man. He'd be tossing in his grave if he knew that I did that. She laughed to herself. So what's the deal? You answer my question first now. I killed my wife and newborn in a fire. They were sleeping in the house that I built. I was out of town on business designing a building for a Japanese tech manufacturing mogul. You weren't there. How did you kill them? Her eyes started to fill with tears for her unexpected new friend. No, your turn. Well, the first time I spit on you was because I had a horrific night the day before. And I wanted to take it out on someone, and you were there. So it was you. She lit her third cigarette. You laughed at me and danced off, which made me laugh. And it made me feel better. Okay, but why keep doing it then? She raised her eyebrows, signaling his turn. I killed her because I was cocky. I used solar panels before they were safety checked and didn't properly wire the electrical system. I thought I knew it all. Well, apparently she turned on the heating in the house and it somehow caught a short. I think it had something to do with how I hooked up the gas and the lines crossed. I don't know, but a spark is all it takes, you know? Anyway, the solar panels were an electrical fire. And the fire trucks came at record speed, but they had no idea about the solar panels. Not sure if you know, but water and electrical fires don't mix, and they were dead before the firemen could get inside. They were outside with their arms crossed, just doing nothing. But what could they do? And me, I was in Japan. I should have been there. I should have been the one to die, not them. I don't understand. Why are you homeless? Houseless. Okay, houseless. Why? You can still work, can you not? She was resolute and demanding. Cut the crap. Why do you continue to spit on me? Hank needed to know. I spit on you because I can. After the first, I did a second time to see if you would react. You just skipped on past. Shrugging. After a while, you just ignored me. I began to wonder to myself, why does this man do nothing? Why does he not speak back or yell or chase me inside? Then, after a while, it just became ritual. Today, there was something different. You didn't smell of piss and booze. And I aimed right at your chute. I wanted to see what had changed. Maybe I am a cunt, as you say. I don't care anymore. Dealing with assholes all day, all night, I just don't know why I bother, or why I fight for this life anymore. Her tone seemed to change, and she sounded almost human. Almost. With a deep, heavy sigh, she looked down in defeat. Hank acquiesced. To answer your question, I left Japan immediately and went to what was left of my home to bury my young wife and child. I tried sleeping in beds after that, but I couldn't. mean, do you know what it's like to have nightmares every night for 5 years of your loved ones burning alive in a home you built? I killed my family. I don't deserve to be comfortable. Anyway, Mario feels sorry for me, and that's the story in a nutshell. Hank finished his plate. He wiped it clean, stood up, and neatly placed it on his seat. I promise I won't spit at you anymore if you promise me something. What? Try a plate of my food tonight. I will make sure it's vegan. Let's say dusk? Flirting again. I don't eat slop, remember? Hank smiled. Very funny, I am being serious. Slowly batting her eyelids. So am I. Hank started to walk away. God sees the truth but waits. Tolstoy. The French bird responded with a pleasant surprise. Dusk it is then. Hank went, without turning around, smiled at her unexpected depth. He wasn't sure he would go, but it was a nice thought. Spoiler alert, he doesn't go. He's not there yet. Next chapter. A deal is a deal. So, pal, how'd it go for you with the church freaks? Hank was delighted with himself. Honestly, not great. I didn't lose my job because Mother promised them that her sizable annual donation wouldn't be made if a certain someone was fired. And by certain someone, she meant me. What the fuck happened? Hank belly laughed. Exasperated, Noah started. Where should I begin? I mean, yesterday after my mother came barging in at 4 in the morning and we had a blowout, I went into the church offices to find Brent, the pastor in charge of outreach. Noah took off his tie and threw it on the ground. And what do you think happened? His eyes grew wide. I told Brent I couldn't participate in Saturday's event, and I wasn't going to man the booth for outreach. What did the bastard do? He flipped. He didn't even hear why. So I forced it on him and told him I didn't agree with paying people of the state more money for a few hours than they do out of the entire month feeding the houseless. He said if I don't do it, I was no longer going to be in charge of outreach, and they would no longer need my help during Wednesday night meetings. I was shocked. It was flowing from his lips like he'd been waiting years for this moment. I explained that in the Bible there was even a story of Jesus himself angered by the people in temple of his day, doing business in the house of the Lord. What did he say to that? He said Jesus would want his flock to be informed and prepared, and that the tax was going to the homeless, which meant the tax was doing the Lord's work. Then he said if I didn't support the Lord's work, I might be tempted by the devil himself, and I needed to step down. Then came the kicker. He said he wanted to give the outreach leadership position to Yolanda. I fucking hate that woman. Everything she touches turns to shit. Noah leaned forward in his beach chair, head in his hands, and the Prince of Willies was jumping up in his face, trying to console his human. Whoa there, cowboy. Don't fly off your horse just yet. Just take a breather. Speaking through his fingers. Sorry. We're going to have to move this up front. We're going to take an intermission break. I'm going to pause it, and I'll start it back up again. This will be the extent of my editing skills. Intermission. Apologies for that. Okay, let's get back to it. Elijah, my son, just woke up. and was getting him ready to go on an adventure with his Occam. Okay, a deal is a deal. Where were we? Hey! Hey, inside! Come on! Okay, hold on. One more second. The other children need attention. The fluffy ones. Hold on. Okay, take 3, I guess, or whatever this is. Okay. Where's my... I left it out front. Let's just start it over. A deal is a deal. So, pal, how'd it go for you with the church freaks? Hank was delighted with himself. Honestly, not great. I didn't lose my job because Mother promised them that her sizable annual donation wouldn't be made if certain someone was fired, and by that certain someone, she meant me. What the fuck happened? Hank belly laughed. Exasperated, Noah started. Where should I begin? Yesterday, after my mother came barging in at 4 a.m. and we had a blowout, I went into the church offices to find Brent, the pastor in charge of our outreach. Noah took off his tie and threw it on the ground. And, what do you think happened? His eyes grew wide. I told Brent I couldn't participate in Saturday's event, and I wasn't gonna man the booth for outreach. What did the bastard do? He flipped. He didn't even hear why. So I forced it on him, and I told him I didn't agree with paying people of the state more money for a few hours than they do on an entire month feeding the houseless. He said if I don't do it, I would no longer be in charge of outreach. They would no longer need my help Wednesday night meetings. I was shocked. It was flowing from his lips like he'd been waiting for years for this moment. I explained that in the Bible there was even a story of Jesus himself angered by the people in temple of his day, doing business in the house of the Lord. What did he say to that? He said Jesus would want his flock to be informed and prepared, and that the tax was going to the homeless, which meant the tax was doing the Lord's work. And then he said if I didn't support the Lord's work, I might be tempted by the devil himself, and I needed to step down. And then came the kicker. He said he wanted to give the outreach leadership to Yolanda. I fucking hate that woman. Everything she touches turns to shit. Noah leaned forward in his beach chair, head in his hands, and Prince of Willie's jumping up in his face, trying to console him, his human. Whoa. Whoa there, cowboy. Don't fly off your horse just yet. Just take a breather. Speaking through his fingers, I think I'm going to have to start looking for another way to make money. I don't think they want me. So that's it? I dislike the institution of religion just as much as the next humanist atheist, but giving up because you think your fellow religious nutbags don't want you there? Correct me if I'm wrong here, pal. But I don't believe this chick wrote about forgiveness meetings as an excuse for people to just give up. But you what? If I have to forgive my fellow assholes like that camel at the French place, so do you. The meeting is adjourned till Thursday. Same time, same place, and I want results out of you, kid. Hank got up, folded his chair, and carried it off with him. Noah did not move a muscle. Forgiving these people is not going to be easy. Sorry, I was thinking about who would be great to play the role of the French cunt. And I was just thinking, Lily Rose Depp is so gorgeous, and she'd be perfect for that role. Because she's got enough American and French to be able to balance out that whole persona. I think she'd have fun with it, too. If I had the money. The money and the connections, what would I do? Alright, Noah didn't move a muscle. Forgiving these people is not going to be easy. The self-righteous rarely feel the need to be forgiven for their misgiving. Doesn't Hank know? They don't have any, so what's to forgive? Noah really didn't want to have to do what he was being asked to do. But a deal is a deal. And surprisingly enough, Hank held up his end of the bargain with ease. It was Noah's turn. That was a fun chapter, wasn't it? There's Prince William doing the pee-pee dance. A truth's many sides. Noah woke up to knocking at his door. It was Mother again. Noah, I don't have much time. Just open the door, Mother. I'm in the kitchen. Shuffling to the kitchen mid-sentence. Noah couldn't get the coffee poured fast enough. What have I told you about locking your doors? An impatient look fell upon his face. Noah, I received a call from Brent. He told me what happened, that you are not interested in doing the Lord's work, raising money for the homeless. Houseless, Mother, not homeless. And Brent told you his version of what happened. Regardless, she responded, I told him in not so uncertain terms that if your job were ever given to someone else, my contributions would find their way to another parish's coffers. You will have to continue going to those meetings for the events, but Brent will run the event, set up and tear down himself from start to finish. They will expect your presence at tonight's meeting. I have to go. Now lock your door, please. Slam. I forgot my manners. There must be a please in here. Right? Because Noah and his mother's relationship is changing. And it's changing for the positive. And she respects her son, so she is asking him, even though it sounds like she's telling him. She really cares about him. And she's fearful and she's nervous, and it comes across as, however it's coming across. Door slams. Noah's sigh of relief was almost as loud. Prince William let out a whimper and started his morning pee-pee dance. So without a second thought, Noah attached his leash and walked out the front door, leaving it wide open after him. When they arrived back, nothing had gone missing, and no one had let themselves in uninvited. He was a little bummed out because deep down, having less stuff was starting to appeal to him. This is the first hint of something much larger. Deep down, having less stuff was starting to appeal to him. Noah spent the rest of his morning psyching himself up for the meeting that evening and thinking of what to say and do and possible attitudes and responses he would receive from the others. Shaking and chattering teeth, if it was springtime, Noah would have just grabbed another jacket, but it was too hot out for that, and he knew he'd look crazier in a jacket than with chattering teeth. With a few hours left till he had to go to church, Noah drove to Yang's for someone to talk to. Yang had a soothing way of calming the nerves. He was like an energy bath. You could say anything to Yang, and it was okay. So, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I get stressed out, I go cold. And, I start chattering. And I think when you're really focused on something, or you're fearful of something, your blood tends to run cold because all the energy is going to your heart and your head because you're overthinking and you're over feeling the fear and anxiety. It's pumping, right? But it doesn't seem to be pumping anywhere besides your head and your heart. It just feels like, wah, you know? And you can't get your extremities to feel the warmth. And it's like he's so stressed out, he feels like putting a jacket on. He's shivering so much. You know? He's just energetically blocked. You know what I mean? Next chapter. I had all these numbered. However, I think it was my editor or my layout person, one of them made the decision to take all the numbers out. And it looks beautiful. I just can't keep track for myself. But that's fine. It's forcing me to just focus on the content, not on the number, I guess. Virgin drag. Hey, Noah, you look horrible. Yang was never one for social niceties. I am so nervous, Yang. I am literally shaking. This is so ridiculous. I promised Hank, the guy I do my forgiveness meetings with, that I'd forgive the people in the church. But I am so worried about what they'll say and do. It's just stupid. Yeah, I'm tired of people's bullshit. I cared lots like you before. But now, I just smoke grass. It's legal. No biggie. It calms my nerves, slows me down, so I can think properly. It's helpful. It's not for everyone, but makes some people paranoid and a few go nutso. Yang twirled his finger around his right ear as he crossed his eyes. Noah laughed in a slightly nervous manner. What do you think it would do to me, Yang? Your mother would not like it. Yang shook his head with eyes wide, yet Noah sensed that Yang did not disapprove. I know. She dislikes 99.9% of what I do. People call it a gateway drug. I am not the reason you loopy on smack or dopey or poppy flower. Yang, I'm not that adventurous. This is a big enough deal as it is. I don't even drink, and I'm not interested in looking like a pimple-faced tweaker or a dead man walking Skeletor. All I do know is that I can't function like this. My teeth are chattering and it is 1,000,000 degrees outside. I just want to calm myself long enough to deal with these people at work without losing my backbone, my job, or my cool. The desperation in Noah's eyes was hard to fake. Yang was not impressed. Well, if you lose your job, I'll hire you. I need an assistant. I trust anyway. You definitely fired after this one. Yang laughed. Pulling out what looked like a hand-rolled cigarette, he continued. I leave out back near recycling. If it go missing, meh. Yang shrugged his shoulders and went out back. Noah, not fully understanding the stoner custom, waited about 5 minutes before following him outside, but Yang was nowhere to be found. However, the doobie was right there where it was meant to be. Noah reached for it, still shaking from nerves. He took the lighter that was strategically placed next to his personal joint and firmly pushed his thumb down over the metal-ridged wheel. It was one of those decorative Bic lighters that said, "Kiss me, I'm Irish," and was covered in shamrocks. Noah laughed. Putting the perfectly rolled paper to his lips, he used his left hand to cover the other end of the joint to block the wind, and with his right he made fire. After the first virgin drag, he felt nothing. So naturally, he puffed and puffed until he coughed, and sent the whole world tumbling down around him like a ton of bricks that he had been carrying unnecessarily for far too long. Time stood still. He thought he must have been in that alleyway for hours. Getting a little worried someone might see him, Noah thought about leaving. Deep down he knew it didn't matter if someone did see him, but decided to get going anyway. Putting out the remaining of the joint to save it for another time, Noah began his evening mission. This particular walk to church was long overdue. He had given Yang his keys and felt confident that he was parked in a spot that would not be metered. He despised parking meters. He despised most things that cost unnecessarily large amounts of money for no good reason. So he avoided parking meters as much as he could and suffered through the rest. This was the first time Noah ever walked to work. The first time Noah ever went to work stoned. Heck, it was the first time Noah was ever stoned, period. And minus the tiny bits of paranoia he got randomly, he kinda loved it. The only thing he regretted that day was that it had taken him this long to try it. He didn't plan on doing it every day, but he was sure as hell not against trying it again sometime. He continued his walk to church, having the most wonderfully engaging thoughts and conversations with his own head about everything his ingenue brain could think up. Noah thought about how beautiful the world would look around him, how he would like to try more steps in the book, and even thought about what Mother would be like if she were stoned. This made him smile because he pictured her being fun and happy. He imagined what it would be like if he ever was able to meet the woman who wrote the book. Would he recognize her? What would he say if he did? Was she a nice person? What did she think of the world? What did she think the world would end up like if everyone on the planet took her book to heart and did all the steps the way she saw them being done? Then the church came into full view, and Noah began to worry. He would start to shake again. But magically he didn't. He was calm as the Cheshire Cat, possibly as mad as the Hatter, but he was damn certain he was still as quick as the White Rabbit, but with the added bravery of Alice to take on the wicked, nameless they, as are present in most fairy tales and children's novels. Noah wasn't scared. He wasn't tongue-tied, and he definitely wasn't going to humor any of their bullshit. Instead, Noah was resolute. Random thoughts continued as he approached the campus of the church. What would all these people be like if they followed the book? Would this concept of religion and the attachments we have to superfluous things and all the random rules just fall to the wayside? Would this concept fall to the wayside? Yeah. Would the politics that we know today be necessary or even useful? Would people be nice, honest, trustworthy, reliable? What if everyone all at once decided to stop being selfish, egotistical assholes? The last thought made Noah laugh. He thought he'd never see the day, at least not at the destructive pace humankind had managed to speed it up to, regrettably. He knew they were all doomed. It was all just a matter of time. As sad as this was, it didn't make it any less true for Noah. He just couldn't picture a world where everyone was nice, helpful, trustworthy, reliable, fair, and happy, without being slaves to money, people, or time. If he wasn't stoned, that last thought might have depressed him. Instead, it just made him shrug and positively wonder if the book could somehow change all of that. And you have to think, if the forgiveness meetings that he read about in that woman's book are changing his life, what would it be like if everybody did it? Even just a little bit. Next chapter. Clear conscious confidence. Hey, Noah. Randy came over from the bench he was sitting at with a hot new 19-year-old girl. Randy met her at a college-age church mixer, his favorite place to pick up chicks. As into her as he was, Randy could see something was different about Noah, and he was determined to figure out what it was. Noah gave Randy a half-hearted smile while still looking at the ground. as he made his way to Brent's office. Randy trotted to catch up with him. "Hey, Noah, wait up!" Out of breath due to his fast food, lazy lifestyle, Randy grabbed Noah's arm to slow him down. "Hey, I think I'm in love with this one. She's a 10 out of 10 and a good Christian girl. I was thinking I'd..." Randy caught a whiff of Noah and leaned in to get a better smell. Deep inhale. "Whew, Noah, you smell like a skunk. Were you in the woods or rolling in some stanky grass?" Randy looked Noah dead square in the eyes, excited for drama. "You're high, aren't you?" Noah's raised eyebrow and his case of the fuck it was written all over his face and said it all. Randy stood back, disappointed and disapproving, shaking his head with his "I will pray for you, brother" look on his face. Noah wasn't interested in self-righteous judgment, forgiveness, anymore. "We can pray later, Randy. Right now I'm on an important business." "Go home, brother. You don't want anyone to see you like this. You're a mess." Now Noah was offended. "Actually, that's exactly what I want. I'm tired of pretending what's going on in this place is the Lord's work, when it has nothing to do with the Lord." "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean. A politician, a taxman. Come on, Randy. I know you're not stupid. What about any of that seems right to you?" "We're helping people, Noah. The money's going to the homeless." "Houseless." "What?" "Houseless. Home is where your heart is, Randy," Noah finished awkwardly. Noah took a deep, relaxed breath. "Look, Randy, it doesn't matter. Just forget it. I just don't belong here anymore." "Of course you do, bud." "No, I don't. I don't even know why I'm alive." "You're alive to do the Lord's work, Noah." "Okay, Randy. What is that exactly? Turn all non-Christians into Christians, save the world from sin and evil?" Noah stopped walking and faced Randy. "Look, Randy, I'm 25 years old and I'm already tired. Tired of everything. It is all fluff, and nothing makes sense to me anymore. I spent years trying so hard to be perfect. To tell you the truth, I have no clue what the fuck that even means." Randy was about to correct Noah on his choice of language, but Noah put his palm calmly and firmly up while shaking his head as if to say, "Don't, brother." "Randy, I love you, man. I deeply care for humanity and call this planet home just like billions of others. But I am so tired of playing these bullshit societal games that get me nowhere. Can you honestly tell me you're happy, you're healthy, you're wealthy? Can you look me in the eye and tell me you love your life as it is? Because I can't. I am miserable and tired of caring so much while others go around undoing all my hard work with a single, selfish, greedy decision or three." "What are you talking about, Noah?" "Forget it. I'm talking nonsense. I gotta go. All I know is something has to change or I'm gonna crack. All this hypocritical, selective, self-righteous, religious stuff isn't working for me anymore. Maybe I'll see you around sometime. Good luck with that girl. I hope you find happiness there." "That's it?" "Yeah, and you don't give up on God just because a handful of people think paying for a seminar to help people is worth using our tithe money on. It's going to the homeless." Noah knew arguing was futile. "Okay, Randy, but just so you know, I'm not giving up on God. There's a better way to help humanity, and I'm not going to be able to do it sitting in meetings and booths. Take care of yourself. Good luck." Noah gave Randy a heartfelt hug and started walking toward Brent's office, leaving him stunned at what just transpired. By the time Noah got there, he could hear Yolanda's giggle coming from Brent's office. He could smell their nasty, greasy lunch. Everything about them was like nails on a chalkboard for Noah. Tap, tap, tap. Noah's middle finger knuckle against the hardwood door was louder than expected. "Come in and welcome, visitor." Noah could hear the flirtatious undertones in Brent's voice. "Hi, Brent. Yolanda. This won't take long. I just came in to inform you I won't be at tonight's meeting or any meeting. You two get what you want after all. And you know what? I'm not the least bit angry. I was disappointed at first, mainly because I thought you all had a sense and backbone, but I don't care anymore. You have your own crosses to bear. And I forgive both of you. I forgive you for your ulterior motives, your unchristian behaviors, and your weird relationship, which I am sure your wife and husband would not fully approve of. I don't want to work with you people anymore. You do more harm than good, and I want no part in any of it. I forgive you, and I bless you away from me. You can mail me my final paycheck. Without waiting for any response, Noah closed Brent's door peacefully and then walked back to Yang's, feeling the most confident and free he'd ever felt in his whole life. A huge, hypocritical weight had lifted off of his shoulders, and he couldn't stop smiling. He officially had no job. He had no money for rent or bills. He had no clue what came next. But what Noah did have was something money couldn't buy him. A clear conscience and a feeling of freedom that only forgiveness could manifest. Goodbye lies, deceit, and fake niceties. Hello integrity and unlimited possibilities. Next chapter. Respect. Noah walked home to get the Prince of Hounds with what? Hold on. Noah walked home to get the Prince of Hounds with nowhere to be and nothing to do. Willie was clearly excited about a walk, and even he could tell something was different about his human companion. Seeing how his mental flight was beginning to feel a bit too grounded for his liking, the cloudy euphoria now resembled more of a clear-skied desert. Noah decided he'd walk back to Yang's to finish what he started out back in the alley. When Noah reached his destination, he could see Yang in his weathered wooden chair, smoking as usual. It was a funny thought, but Noah couldn't recall any moment seeing Yang outside without something lit in his hand. The familiar scene made Noah feel at home. Yang didn't know it, but Noah began smoking cigarettes years ago because he wanted to be like Yang. Yang always looked like he had life figured out. He knew who he was and what he wanted. If mimicry was the sincerest form of flattery, then Yang should have considered himself flattered. Truth be told, Yang never knew Noah looked up to him or that he wanted to be like him. Yang was just nice to Noah and always treated him like he was a man, even when Noah was just knee-high to a grasshopper. Sometimes that's all that's needed to make a difference in another's life. A little bit of respect goes a long way, regardless of age, sex, creed, or color. Noah pulled out the half-smoked joint and handed it to Yang, who lit it and passed it back and forth after his two puffs. Yeah, puff, puff, pass is the social etiquette over here. Noah smiled and followed suit. Yang spoke first. So I'll see you tomorrow at 8 in the morning. I have a big project. Prince can come and stay while you help me. Yang knew by Noah's demeanor that he was not planning on returning to the church anytime soon, which meant he would need a job ASAP. Noah nodded and reflected on Yang's kindness. The two men shared Noah's moment of freedom and peace in silence and with dignity. Uncomfortable changes never felt better. Clearing some preconceived notions, people, and things from his life was a painful necessity Noah was beginning to steadily embrace. But little did he know, the uncomfortable feelings and even more uncomfortable decision-making were far from over. Step by step, bit by bit, Noah was changing his world. Pain never felt so pleasurable, and thus the night continued. Puff, puff, pass. Is this the... Whoops. My fingers are freezing. Okay. 2 more. The golden rule. Noah woke up with a smile from the best sleep he could ever remember having. And it was 6 a.m. He was refreshed and ready to start his first day at Yang's. Expectations were low, excitement was high. What a beautiful day. He knew he had to break away for a quick meeting with Hank, seeing as how it was Thursday. But Noah didn't think this would be a deal breaker for Yang. Yang understands what I'm doing and why. Yang even has his own copy of the book. He'll be okay. Won't he? Yes, he must. Noah is still overthinking every last detail. On to the next mental struggle. Not knowing what to bring, he just packed lunch for himself and his dog and made sure to dress in his cleanest button-down shirt and slacks. Mother always told him it was better to be overdressed than underdressed. That was a lesson he fully agreed with. He hated being underdressed. He would rather have all eyes on him because he looked too good than being looked like an inconsiderate, ignorant man who didn't belong. Whether or not that is what people thought, it was what Noah was programmed to believe true, as a general rule. It was 7 a.m. now. Noah was ready to go and decided to walk. It was healthier, cheaper, and less stressful than driving all the time. In fact, it was at this moment our dear Noah decided to himself he would change his driving to a walking quotient. He would change his driving to walking quotient and try to reduce his driving down to 23% and increase his walking to about 50%, leaving the remaining percentages to public transportation, riding a bicycle, and the likes. It would have been 20%, but Noah knew he wasn't perfect and needed at least a 3% margin for error, like super cold days, lazy days, and the occasional sick days. By the time his unnecessary transportation percentages had worked themselves out in his head, he had turned back into his reality and saw how close he was to his first day of work. Tuned back into his reality. Excited and nervous. What a day to be alive. What a life to be living. He wondered to himself what his friend would think of his accomplishment. Hank was sure to have opinions. Thoughts were interrupted by greetings. Yang handed Noah coffee and a small white paper bag filled with not one, but 2 of his favorite donuts. A deep sigh and smile were Noah's version of a thank you that morning, and Yang was fine with that. Friendship tends to be a funny thing. Your friendship transcends socially demanded behavior and rests in telepathic understanding. There is a sense of comfort in knowing that even when you don't act as you are told to communicate what? Your friendship transcends socially demanded, yes. There is a sense of comfort. So I gave this to my editor, and I did not proofread it. I just accepted the work and decided to go with a serendipitous outcome, because I knew that I wouldn't be ever satisfied with it, and I decided to let it go and not edit it again and get stuck with it not on the shelves. So there's some things that I need to fix in here, but all in all, I'm very impressed. I am. Okay. Where are we here? Anyone who can edit my thoughts and words they've got their work cut out for them. Okay. Where was I? Oh no. There's a sense of comfort in knowing that even when you don't act as you are told, that's very confusing. So I'm going to adjust it. There's a sense of comfort in knowing that even when you don't act as you are told, to communicate your point properly, you still get your point across. Yang broke the silence. I see the prince is happy. I set up an area for him out back. Noah was beginning to suspect Yang had hired him for his dog. Willie had a way with everyone. If animals could speak in the human tongue, Prince William would be so easy to love. If animals could speak in the human tongue, Prince William would be an easy-to-love Chris Farley or Chris Rock, listed death before beauty. And Noah would be Woody Allen, an acquired taste at the best. You know what, though? I have Woody Allen here as a reference, but I really don't... For me, he's not even an acquired taste. I still haven't acquired him as a taste. Like, I don't like him. Unfortunately, I don't even like his art. And I don't like him as a person. So I gotta figure out somebody else to put here, because I actually like Noah. I know he's not perfect or whatever, but I like him a hell of a lot more than Woody Allen. Okay. I don't know. Put a question mark there. Who can I replace that with? What page is that? 134. Somebody who can actually be an acquired taste. Okay. I'm sorry if that's offensive. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, here's the project I need you to bind. One for each student. I will print and put it together properly. All you do is use this machine and punch through the holes. Then you grab like this and push spiral through. I have special plastic wax. I will show you how to put on sharp end of the spiral. Safer for kids. Touch it. Yang pulled from his back pocket and pushed into Noah's free hand, his example of a finished book for him to feel. Yang was right. Instead of just pushing in the sharp end bits of the spiral, a quick dip in the wax stuff seemed like a great idea for the youngsters. Okay, you know on spiral notebooks, and at the end, it seems really sharp. And so Noah is so careful and caring of his people that come to him that he literally dips the ends in this little waxed up substance so that the kids don't scratch themselves or hurt themselves. Isn't that lovely? I love Yang's character. Okay. God, they would have to be a really... I don't know. I just see Yang as this really... I don't know, almost like he's a Japanese artist, believe it or not. I know Yang's not Japanese, but what is his name? He's a kung fu actor. Ah, okay. Anyway. The two men and their trusted mascot got to work. Prince William had a giant toy to tear apart, and this one seemed to be made of recycled carpet, much tougher than his usual soft plush toy. Ripping out the eyes and nose would take hours of dedicated tearing and gnawing, and the prince took this job quite seriously. After Noah started to get the hang of his task, his alarm went off. Hey, Yang, I gotta run out for an hour to meet Hank for a scheduled forgiveness meeting. He hates when I'm late. Call him. Tell him you're busy. I would, except that Hank doesn't have a phone. Who has no phone anymore? What is he, homeless? Yang chuckled at his seemingly harmless joke. Noah stared blankly at Yang. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Do you mind staying longer so we finish tonight? No problem at all. Be back really soon. Hey, Noah. Yeah. Hank friend, right? Noah nodded yes. Why is he still houseless if you have a house? It was clearly a rhetorical question, seeing as how Yang spun back around to continue his task at hand, with no interest in an out-loud response. That stung Noah's pride a little. He put his shoes back on as he reached the front door and started his walk to the park. He struggled with the idea that the right thing to do would put him at a disadvantage and in a position of weakness. He didn't know Hank wouldn't steal all his stuff. He loved his stuff. All of his stuff. Even the stuff he forgot he had or could not find or misplaced for safekeeping. He didn't know Hank wouldn't ruin his place. He didn't own his place. It wasn't his to ruin. It was a risk. But to calculate that risk, he would have to consider more than just his feelings and judgmental thoughts. Noah would have to consider what the right and humane thing to do was. He would have to take into account the golden rule of treating others the way he would want to be treated. And then he would have to make a decision that could, and most likely would, disrupt the fabric of his entire existence. Was he willing to do that? Did he have a choice? Just because Yang said that didn't mean he had to do what Yang suggested. But was what Yang was suggesting the right thing to do for him and for Hank? Deep down, Noah really wasn't sure. By the time he got to the park and saw Hank already there in a lotus pose under the willow tree, he decided to think about it. So taking off his shoes and sitting quietly facing Hank, he did just that. Think. After what seemed like an eternity, Noah could hear Hank stirring. Noah, so, how'd it go, pal? Hank spoke softly as his eyes slowly opened. Sorry, I didn't read that correctly. Noah. So, how'd it go, pal? Hank spoke softly as his eyes slowly opened. Noah, wide-eyed and in deep thought, was brought back to reality. I'm not sure how to explain it. I got a new job. I guess that sort of answers that question. I just could not do it anymore, Hank. I felt like a slimy hypocrite just being there. I got stoned at Yang's, walked to church yesterday, and felt liberated. I felt strong, Hank. I knew at that moment that I would never step foot in those offices to work again. It didn't matter if I had to join you here in the park. Does that make sense? Hank nodded. Yang offered me a job before I left, but I wasn't sure if he was just being nice or if he really meant it. Turned out he was serious, and I started this morning. I'm learning how to spiral bind. I'm not saving the world or anything, but I feel better making school books than I ever did at church. You are saving the world more by binding school books than you ever did, bashing people over the head with a religious textbook that was written thousands of years ago to control a population. But I digress, my friend. The only way to save the world is through unbiased learning and teaching. But you know that. Oh, but you know what, Noah? That seems to be a basic idea that we as an entire human race haven't quite seemed to grasp yet. If you really think about it, pal, we should be teaching our future generations about finding new planets and new galaxies to populate for the time when our planet doesn't make it through a fatal asteroid hit or the inevitable galaxy collision with Andromeda, our next closest galaxy in the universe. So if you really think about it, Noah, you are saving the world with every book you bind. And don't you ever forget that. That's not religious, though. That is science, Hank. From a religious context, who do you think made all the sciencey stuff? Everything that science describes and prescribes. How we use our tools determines if it's good or evil. God doesn't say pray and do nothing, and all will be given to you. You have to put in the work. Like AA always says at the end of each meeting, it works if you work it, and you're worth it. You know what I mean? So the sheer fact that we even know asteroids and other planets exist is our gift from God, from this God of yours, to do something about it. Don't you think? And at that exact moment it clicked. Noah had his answer. Hank, would you like to move in with me? You are my friend and I like having you around. You make sense and I would be honored at the opportunity to share my apartment with you. It's not big or anything, but it does its job. Hank looked up at the sky and thought deeply about his beautiful young family, and something clicked in his own mind. His wife's memory deserved respect and love, not feelings of guilt, regret, and fear. He needed to face these feelings. A night indoors was a good way to test himself. I might take you up on that for a night and see how it goes. But I promise nothing, he gruffed. Great. How about this? You walk me back to work so you know where it is, and then meet me there when I'm done. We can walk back to the apartment together. I accept your kindness, but you have to know something. I have a hard time indoors, so if I don't stay, don't take it too personally, pal. I kind of figured that after you told me your story, Hank. I would have asked you sooner, but I still had hang-ups about what I was told to believe about houseless people. Yang helped me work through that one earlier today. You'd like Yang. Noah stood up and dusted off his butt. There was a clinical awkwardness about him and the way he talked, like it was as though he thought if he didn't thoroughly explain himself, then people wouldn't understand him at all. Where's all your stuff, Hank? I can help you carry some of it, and we can pick up the rest later when we get to the wagon. I walked to work today. I'm sure leaving your stuff at the shop wouldn't be a big deal. This is it. Hank reached around to the side of the willow tree and grabbed his backpack with his yoga mat attached to the top with a bungee cord. Everything neat, everything tidy, like all of Hank's thoughts and feelings, everything in its place and pocket is neatly compartmentalized. The walk back to Yang's printing shop appeared peaceful to those who passed by, but in each of their minds, a whirlwind of fears and expectations spun faster and faster with every step closer to their new lives of living together. I was so distracted reading that chapter. I kept thinking, like, someone's gonna, do this because I said to do it, and then if something goes wrong, it's gonna be my fault that they did this. But I'm not gonna change my words. I believe that we all need to be kinder to each other, even if we're not giving each other a room in our home. If we help one another find rooms, or, whatever, if we start helping one another instead of being jealous of one another, like the French woman who's jealous of him. She's jealous of the idea of him and his freedom. One man's tragedy. Noah walked into the shop with ease as Hank stayed outside uncomfortably. Hank avoided the front door of most shops due to the unwelcoming nature of most folks found inside them. Yang, I brought someone for you to meet. Noah spun around and saw Hank still outside, unable to cross the imaginary threshold line. Noah quickly half-jogged back and grabbed Hank by the forearm. leading him in without a second thought. If Hank were a small child learning how to swim, Noah would have been the adult, tossing him in haphazardly into the deep end, without questioning his ability to sort it out mentally. Yang came out from the back room with a big smile, and arms in the air, welcoming Hank like a congressman would, and prepared for a photo-op scheduled embrace. "Hank! I hear loads about you. Welcome. Come in, come in. I have a nice couch back here. Leave your bag. Relax, relax. Come in." Now the question is, do you think Yang knew who Hank was before they met? Because this is a small town. Noah's able to walk around all over the place. They're within walking distance of each other. You think Yang's never heard of Hank? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe so. Yang had his arm around Hank's shoulder, guiding him in toward the back room. Hank took a deep breath and exhaled. It was nice to be treated like a human being again. Hank had almost forgotten what that actually felt like. It wasn't enough to exist. It wasn't enough to eat, drink, sleep, shit, and breathe on this planet. It was being treated nicely. He was feeling another human being's touch without fear of pain. It was something every living being on this rock deserved but rarely received. It was overwhelming. If Hank didn't actively work to keep his usual calm, collected, hard exterior, he could feel himself releasing emotion in a million different directions, one of which involved the universal sign of male weakness. Tears. "Yang, how long have you been here?" Hank was digging deep, trying to place Yang in a history of faces locked in his own psyche. About 2 decades ago. What's this? No, not right now. About 2 decades ago or so. About 2 decades or so. Yang started to chuckle at his age. "Do you remember a woman named Mama Yin? She lived here around 7 years ago. Had an acupuncture and herbalist place just next door to here." "Yeah, Dragon Woman. My ex-wife. Why, you know her too? I apologize." Yang chuckled. "Yeah, she was my acupuncturist in my past life." "You look familiar. What is your name?" "Pharmopolis." Hank plopped himself down on the brown corduroy two-seater couch positioned perfectly in the center of the room. Yang laughed as he poured the rest of his morning coffee down the small sink in the corner near the back door. "You know architect dude? His name is the same as you. Funny name. Hard to forget." Flipped the tab on the electric kettle, Yang looked in its reflection to see Hank's reaction. He knew exactly who Hank was from the moment he first heard Noah speak of him. Small towns get much smaller where drama is concerned. Everyone likes a good story, especially when death is the headliner. Hank lifted his eyebrow with interest. "Poor guy. Lost the whole family. Fire. Crazy stuff. Life is so precious. I read in paper. It was around the time my ex was sucking all the blood from my bank account." Yang started to laugh uncontrollably, and then he continued. "Jealous, so jealous. I want to trade spots. Funny. Tragedy for one, blessing for another." Yang kept laughing and then turned to face him square on. "Yeah, I knew him." Hank understood. Change is scary, only if you learn nothing from it. Yang wasn't laughing any longer. Noah was so confused. He was crouched against the wall behind Hank across from Yang. Prince William was curled up on his lap, enjoying an ear rub. It was always fascinating to Noah that pressure points in the ears managed to reduce stress. Mother would rub his ears in between her thumb and index finger while he lay on her lap as a child, watching shows late at night when Father was working late or away on business with the church. It was the closest he ever felt with Mother. He found that repeating this ritual with his dog was just as relaxing. Noah's train of random thoughts was interrupted. Hank and Yang were walking out back, each with a mug in their hands. He left the two men and continued his work spiral binding the books. He really enjoyed his new job. Noah never thought he would be more excited to continue work than to go outside to hang out with his friends. Not in a million years. But there he was, happy, productive, and at peace with his new vocation. It's funny sometimes how if you let go, you make room for something that is really for you. Reminds me of my tattoo. Coincidence is destiny. You open it up by releasing old fears. You open it up by releasing old jobs. You open it up by releasing old stagnant relationships or unhealthy connections. And you'll see in part 3, you can also let go of your stuff to make room and space for that which serves you. You can manifest a destiny that is different than the path you are on if you learn how to pay attention to the coincidences in your life and you accept the challenge of uncomfortable changes. I love you. We'll see you for part 3, which is free cycling and free marketing. I love you. I'll record the 3rd one maybe tomorrow. Who knows? Miss Jesus loves your history. Thank you.